Welcome to my latest podcast series, One Life. My name's Terence Wallace, and I'm the writer and publisher of a weekly essay entitled Indelible Adventures, and I'm your host. This podcast series sets out to prompt and challenge your thinking about life and what it means to really live your life. I'll share with you my insights and personal experiences with the sole objective of getting you to reflect and think about your approach to living your best life. So let's get started. This week's episode is entitled Gut Instincts. The older I get, the more I've come to trust my gut instincts, although to be fair, I've always followed them to varying degrees. Have you ever been in one of those situations where you just knew something wasn't quite right and it made you inherently hesitant? Yes, this is a prime example of your gut instincts taking control. Sometimes it might be in a first meeting with someone, or perhaps in a work situation or negotiation. Often there's no middle ground. Either it feels right, or something doesn't quite fit, if you know what I mean. You can call it your sixth sense, but whenever I feel that emotion or that uneasiness, it makes me stop and check in on my gut. Once I've checked in with myself, I'm able to then move forward unencumbered by doubt as long as I've checked in. This generally puts me at ease, feeling deep down that I know that I've made the right decision one way or the other. If you take a step back, I'm sure you've had similar situations and inclinations following your gut. Sometimes it can be a little confusing, as on the surface everything looks just fine. But for some reason there's a tiny seed of doubt in your mind, or an instinct, that all is not as it seems. And it's definitely in these moments that you need to take pause and check with your gut. For me personally, after my marriage dissolved, I felt that I'd lost my inner confidence. And it took me quite some time to come to terms with the fact that I could once again follow my gut instincts and move forward without second-guessing myself. Now, I suppose this watershed moment, in the grand scheme of things, was a natural reaction to the end of an important era in my life. I guess what I found on reflection and fascinating is how low my confidence had become in trusting my inner instincts. I found it particularly noticeable during the first year as we went through the legal and financial separation. But with every day that went beyond that first year milestone, I slowly but surely began to gather my confidence again, and again, follow my gut instinct. I find it fascinating how your confidence and following your gut instinct are intertwined. Strangely, through this period, my inner voice had never deserted me, but it had always taken a back seat. It was at this juncture that I had to look deep inside to try to understand why I'd let this happen. At some point in the relationship, I seemed to have relinquished my voice, and therefore my confidence began to erode. Yeah, being ignored and overridden often takes its toll. Now let's be crystal clear, there is no one to blame but me. Refining my inner voice and following my gut instincts is not just a one-time thing. Being your own person and following your gut is vital, in my opinion, to living your best life. I know from my past experiences that where I've gone with my gut instincts, only goodness has flowed. A perfect example is mine. When I decided to leave the corporate world, there were many people who thought I was crazy, and they'd often say, "Why would you walk away from a perfectly great job? At least on the surface anyway." And trust me, it did take me a long time to come to terms with following my gut and deciding to leave. What became clear when I took an emotional step backwards from my decision was that my job was in direct conflict with my core values. It took me away from my kids that I had half-time, and so therefore it really challenged me at my very core. As I reflected on my gut instincts with regard to the situation, I realized that by staying in the job, it didn't allow me to be the person or father that I always wanted to be, especially for Zach and Sam. It was clear that I had no intention nor appetite for traveling all the time for business when I had the kids. However, working with an uncompromising employer, it's impossible to negotiate. So this left me with no choice but to follow my gut and leave. Literally everyone around me was aghast. Yes, this decision really truly was the golden handcuffs. But I stayed strong and I followed my gut and said no, that I didn't want to stay in this job. Seriously, since that time I've never looked back. And as I said before, the universe truly had my back. Seriously, from this point on, I followed my gut and began living life on my terms. I had freed myself from the shackles of fear. And I embraced life and began living it with passion and wholeheartedness every day. There is no question that it takes courage to act on your gut instincts, and I'm certainly not professing that you jump into situations without truly examining all aspects and angles. But my one piece of advice is, believe that you have options. Don't always accept things on face value. Ask yourself the big question, what if? In the grand scheme of things, I'm truly not sure how much actual control we have in our lives, but every day we get to choose how we live and on what terms. So there is no better time to double down and follow your gut instincts. So as I like to say, no one gets out alive. So, what are you waiting for? If you'd like to learn more about Indelible Adventures and the products and services we provide, please take a moment to visit the website at www.indelibleadventures.com. Indelible Adventures is one word. Thanks for listening and look forward to hosting you again very soon.